Welcome to another episode of Inside IALR. Thanks for joining us. So today we're here to talk about apprenticeships and kind of some success stories, lessons learned, lessons being learned, best practices for running effective apprenticeship programs. So first, I'm going to turn it over to, we have 4 guests today, and I will let each of you all introduce yourselves.
I'm Natori, Neal, the apprenticeship coordinator here at the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research, and I basically coordinate the Institute's Expanding Talent Through Registered Apprenticeship Program, or EXTRA for short.
I'm Jenny Spitzer, part owner of Spitzer Incorporated. We're electrical contractors in Virginia and North Carolina.
I'm Josh Arnold, and I am the lead teacher for our program for our electrical apprenticeship.
I'm Jacob Oakes, and I'm the apprentice for Spitzer Electric.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for being here today. Really appreciate that. So first, we'll get the basics out of the way. Apprenticeships, Natori, I'll let you take this one. Apprenticeships are a very successful model for bringing on new employees. So it's a sort of talent retention and recruitment tool. So Natori, tell us a little bit about kind of what is the structure, generally speaking, of an apprenticeship program.
Absolutely. So apprenticeship basically combines on-the-job training, that's the hands-on learning that apprentices get, from clocking in and clocking out to work every day and, working in the field if they're outside and that sort of thing. So it's the on-the-job training combined with mentorship. Mentors are usually mentoring apprentices at a 1-to-1 ratio, and then related technical instruction, which is a fancy way of saying curriculum, classroom instruction, the education that basically explains, the why behind the what that they're doing on the job on a day-to-day basis. Then that is also combined with wages. So apprentices are paid employees from day one. And as they gain skills, their employer identifies the frequency and the amount of wage increases that they get for skills attainment until they reach what we call their journey worker status or their experienced worker status when they complete a registered apprenticeship program. Completion is marked by successful completion of on-the-job training and related technical instruction. And then there is that nationally recognized credential at the end of it. So they do get the nationally recognized credential and journey worker card in Virginia for completing a registered apprenticeship program.
Awesome. So yeah, obviously, you're talking about that mix of on-the-job training and education kind of going together and the apprentice or employee being paid for both of those things. Jenny, tell me a little bit about Spitzer, kind of what you all do first, and then how you all landed on the need for an apprenticeship program for your organization.
Okay, so we started in March of 2009, and over the years we slowly grew, hiring people in the community. Some had electrical backgrounds, some did not. And what we found was we were training people from the ground up to begin with, but we had no way at a state level for them to recognize, that they had the skill set to sit for a test until they had basically, I think it's 10 years they have to work, for someone before they can test if they don't have the education piece. And so, flash forward to 2022, 2020. I think I met with Natori in 22, and I said, look, what can I do to get the education piece that the state recognizes? How does this work? She was great. She met with me for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then I started looking into apprenticeship. I didn't pull the trigger right away because I really wanted to get the education piece right. And I researched lots of different options for education. And we landed on the education piece going through a company called NCCER, which is kind of the model used for the trades. And NCCER has been around their curriculum for 26 or 7 years now. They're amazing curriculum, and so once I had the curriculum piece in place that I wanted to use, I went back to Natori and we got all the paperwork in place and we started the program. And then Jacob came on, I believe, in June of 23. Yeah. And so he's coming up in 2 weeks. You'll be here 2 years. And that's how we kind of got the ball rolling. We got certified. Josh got certified to teach the curriculum, to test everyone, and so far, so good.
So you all are doing all of the related technical instruction in-house with the curriculum.
Correct.
Okay, so
Correct.
Josh, you're in charge of teaching.
Yeah, so I do all the classroom as well as some of the related initial hands-on skills and skill testing. And then I also work with them, all of our apprentices, which now will be up to hopefully 4 soon, and work with them out in the field as well as helping them pair with some of the other guys to have some mentoring. We have different people who are really stand out in different areas of the field who do better. You know, some are better and stronger with residential work, some are better and stronger with the commercial work, generators, solar panels, different things like that. Everybody has a little bit varied experience. Most of the other guys are all coming up or have far exceeded, 10 years in the field. And so they have different backgrounds, and it really helps with getting them different experience when they're out there working with the other guys.
And Jacob, for you, how did you end up here?
So back in high school, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I was more creative on what I liked doing, and I talked to a relative of mine on like film editing. That's something I was really interested in, and he said it was not a stable job and that I should not do it. And so I was like, well, there goes all my plans. And I was kind of just trying to figure it out, take it slow. My dad came up to me and was like, have you ever considered a trade? He felt like it would be better for me because I don't really like sitting in an office area. And so I started kind of looking into different ones, which one I thought would work best for me. And I came across electrical. I was like, I'll do electrical. And then I found them through my brother, who's in what would you describe
We're in a
that
business
as?
group. His brother and I are in the same business group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I heard about them through that, and that's kind of how it all worked out for me.
That's awesome. And Jenny, I want to go back to what you said too. So basically you're saying that a lot of the training that you all were doing, you were basically training people from the ground up, but there was just no way to like officially recognize that
Correct.
training was happening. So
Correct.
that this was a way for to make sure that your employees had those credentials, had those recognitions of their skills.
Correct. The need was very strong. There were not, we did not find adequate education in our area for what we do. We are electrical contractors. We do residential, we do commercial, we do solar, we do generators, but we've done solar since, before '09. My husband ran the electrical side of my dad's contracting company before we went out on our own. It's not like we're just jumped on the solar bandwagon. You know what I mean? Like, same thing with the other stuff. We've been doing generators 10, 15 years. I mean, it's been pretty much the whole time. It's not something like, oh, we just recently jumped on the generator bandwagon. This is something that we do. And we believe firmly in education. Like, if you don't know, you don't grow. And so we send our guys to school to recertify on things all the time. Like, we strongly believe in the education piece because you don't want to get stagnant in what you do. There's always new technology, period. And so if we can't find, we were getting students either went out of high school, out of college, out of factories. People were saying, I want to try something different. And they didn't have basic skill sets to work in the trades, whether it's reading a ruler or just basic math, like doing fractional math, which is you do in the trades all the time. And that was a big problem. So then it was like, I need something that really starts from the very basic of basics and continues all the way up through theoretical math, motor controls. I think Jacob just did a unit that had a lot of calculus with motor controls and things like that. But it's really hard to take somebody in the field who doesn't have the fundamentals. And you can tell someone to pull a wire from here to there. But if they're not understanding what they're doing or why they're doing it, that's a problem. So having the education piece to start from the beginning and go all the way through really helps them to solidify it when they get the on-the-job training part, and they see it all come together, why it works the way that they were taught. So that was really huge for us.
Natori, you mentioned, Jenny, you had mentioned, meeting with Natori, the support provided. Give a quick rundown of the extra program and kind of the resources and support that you all provide for organizations across all of Southern Virginia and launching apprenticeship programs.
Absolutely. So Extra is very much informed by employers. A lot of people have the initial misconception that Extra is the apprenticeship program. And it's not. It's more so a lot of services dedicated to helping employers develop, register, launch, and maintain and administer their apprenticeship programs, and even, expanding that, scaling that to size. And so we do things such as, when we met with Jenny, or I met with Jenny for the first time, we have that discussion, this is what apprenticeship is. Apprenticeship is not an internship, although internship is a great work-based learning model as well. Apprenticeship is not an internship, and those terms aren't used interchangeably. So this is what apprenticeship is. These are your responsibilities as an employer. I'm very passionate about working with employers to ensure that the program is developed to meet their needs. Their on-the-job training is formulated, and then the on-the-job training needs inform the related technical instruction. And the employer's other needs, travel distance and, cost and that sort of thing all play a role in the development of their program. And so we have those discussions, their needs discussions, and then we move on to program development. In that development phase, the employer is there the entire time, being an active participant in what's needed. I just kind of handle the management of the project and ensuring that partners are involved at the right time in order not to overwhelm the employers. If the employer needs resources as far as related technical instruction, where are all the possible RTI, or where can you get all of the related technical instruction in this area? You can do it in-house yourself. Like the Spitzers, you can get it from a community college. You can source it from a university or even an online training provider here in Virginia. So there are a lot of options, and being transparent is what really helps employers and, myself in that process. Not only am I, focusing on getting their program developed, I want to learn more about their company and seeing where those needs are. In the future, is there room to expand with solar being as big as it is now? In the future, Spitzer could decide, hey, we're going to have something more so along the lines with energy. So having that room for conversation. Also, in working with employers and, developing those programs, just the feedback is essential during all phases, even after the program is developed. Jenny might come to me and say, hey, Tori, is there funding available for this? Or is there resources available to help me get connected with this population of individuals? Because we want to offer opportunities to high school students. How can I get in front of those high school students? So just being very responsive, very proactive, and then also listening and being transparent helps a lot when working with employers to develop, register, and then maintain those relationships and maintaining the success of their programs.
Yeah, I have her on speed dial.
Literally.
True story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love the variety of support that Extra provides. It's that, to helping develop the program itself, helping maintain the program, support with recruitment. I know there's grants involved for salary, for the helping find those related technical instruction opportunities, as you said. So it's definitely a lot of different ways that companies can be supported by the Extra program. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and just talk about generally in the room, what are some of the, I guess, best practices that you all see for apprenticeship programs from your perspective? So, obviously, Natori, you're working with companies all over the region, so you're going to have the more, I would imagine you would have more broad analysis to that, whereas Jenny, you're seeing it from what have we seen in our company? And Jacob, you're saying, what have I seen, in my experience? I want to hear from all of you of kind of what do you think are the best practices or keys to a successful apprenticeship?
So this is new, so we're still, we're 2 years in, and we're still kind of learning what some of the best practices are, how to get in front of the right people, the right age group, people who are curious about it but don't understand what electrical is, or what the apprenticeship program involves, people who have worked other jobs and just said, I don't want to sit at a desk all day. So for us, it's trying to talk to different people in different avenues. I do speak at a business group every single week, and I speak with them and ask them to spread the word. I have talked to homeschoolers. I have went in front of high schoolers, And then I reach out to Natori to help me kind of broaden that, just to bring people in the door and just to kind of do a greater education of what we do and why we do it this way. I'm open to learning anything I want a small learning curve on this, you know what I mean? There are going to be things that we're going to learn along the way, and as simply and as easily as we can learn it, that would be great. I rely heavily on her. So if I have questions, if I get paperwork or I get something, and I don't understand it, I'm like, Natori, am I reading this right? Am I seeing this correct? And there have been times when she and I have come across something that's just not, whether it's a grant or whether it's whatever, tax credits, and I'm like, okay, am I reading this correct? And she's been able to help me navigate those waters. As far as with Jacob and Josh, I just have to say, Josh, kudos, thank you very much. I'm so grateful that he took on the role of the education piece, and I'm just like, whatever you need, tell me, we'll get it there to make things easier. I try to do the same for Jacob and all the apprentices. The door's open. I want you guys to talk to us. I want it to be open communication. I want you guys to feel comfortable to talk to Josh or to myself or to anybody. And I think if we keep the communication open, I think we'll do well. We really try to promote quality over quantity. There's a reason we don't have 20 apprentices right now. I want it to be slow growth because I want them to really understand and learn. And that's a big one for me. And at the end of this, I want Jacob to be a craftsman, not just an apprentice. I want him to come out of it as a master electrician, and I want him to be a craftsman at what he does.
And how long is y'all's apprenticeship program last?
4 years.
4 years, okay. And obviously, at the end of that, those apprentices are just regular employees.
He will be, yes. Mm-hmm. So, ultimately, one of the reasons I try to get in front of the high schoolers and try to get in front of colleges is because it is a 4-year thing. It is a different outlet than a college or a university. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, if you come in, 18 years old, 22, 23, 24, I want the ability to give you a truck, a set of keys, a plan, and say, run this job. You're licensed, right? We've invested 4 years to getting you to this point. And, your wages are paid along the way. So we're investing in you, hoping you invest back in us and help our company to grow.
I would say one of the biggest things for people either looking at starting their own apprenticeship program or those who are looking to get into apprenticeship program, if you're going into the company to even start talking about it, seeing what their curriculum is and what it's based around. We use a nationally recognized one that's NCCER that not only is providing the core curriculum and helpful other things, they have books that are being put out for each of the modules and everything, so you actually have a true textbook. You have review questions, you have module tests, you have hands-on exercises, you have hands-on testing to make sure that not only have you got the concept down, but you're able to start developing skills to actually use your hands and do it and make sure that you truly understand. You don't get partway through and go, yeah, I don't understand why I'm doing this. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do next. And it really helps with that. So I would want to know, if I was going into an apprenticeship program myself, I would want to know what their curriculum is or if they even have a true curriculum, because this one is nationally recognized. So not only does it allow you, for our state currently, to walk away at the end of the 4 years with a journeyman's license for the state, but then that license can then be used to go other places in the country if you really wanted to try to find states that will reciprocate the license and allow you to fill out all the proper paperwork, prove that you had the license and have held the license for so long, and be able to actually get a license in another state. For some people, that may be their end goal. They want to get through the program, stay a few years, and then they want to transition to, maybe they're across the country from where they grew up and they want to get back there, but they want to move back with a skill set that allows them to go home to where the rest of their family lives and be there and be successful.
I guess for me, I would say I kind of agree with both Jenny and Josh on that. It's important you find somewhere with an environment where you can feel comfortable and you're not scared to make a mistake or something, and because that's part of learning is you make mistakes and you gotta learn from those mistakes. And if you're too scared to actually end up doing that, then you'll never end up learning anything. And with Josh too, I agree with the whole, like, you know, you have to find somewhere with a good curriculum, somewhere with a good form of learning, and you want to make sure it kind of matches what you want to go with, because there's a wide variety of directions you can go with electrical. And so if I was doing this to go work somewhere that does not involve any form of construction at all, then it would be almost not pointless, but
you'd have good fundamentals, but
I would have good fundamentals, but I would have to kind of learn more than what I'm being taught here.
So this curriculum specifically for you, I mean, over the last 2 years, how have you seen, what has that been like, getting that mix of, you know, you're learning the basics, the fundamentals in the classroom with Josh, and you're learning out in the field at the same time? How have those two things come together, and what has that been like?
It can be kind of interesting when you get to working with something and then you remember that you've read it in a textbook somewhere, and that can be kind of helpful. For me, it's really helpful when I'm reading the textbook, I'm reading something, and I've remembered doing it in the past, so then I have something I can put with the textbook to make it real almost, and it's not just words on a page anymore. Or, vice versa, if I read something in the textbook and then go do it in the field.
What I like about this program and what I like about apprenticeship in general is it takes different learning styles and it puts them all together. If you're a tactile learner, you're going to learn in the field. If you're an analytical learner, you're reading it, you're getting it, but you're still meshing those two together, whether you're, an auditory learner, whatever, visual learner. Josh has PowerPoints, he's speaking. You're learning different ways, and you're putting them all together on the job site, and that's huge, because I think when you just, not for everyone, but there are a certain sect of people who, when they go sit in a university, they're just hearing words all day, and it doesn't register as easily, right? Some people are just, they can get it, they're analytical, they can read it, they get it, they can hear it, they get it. And other people really have to do whatever they're learning with their hands to really solidify it in their mind, and that's what I really like about this curriculum.
Yeah, it definitely offers a nice blend of multiple learning styles. And then, of course, I try to tailor to each level the way they learn best, whether they, we get some people who can just read it and that's fine and they'll remember it all. And we get other people that they can read it, but it doesn't make any sense to them. And so then being able to turn around, the same day or another day that week or as close as we can, depending on the jobs going on, and go out and actually do it and look at it, what it looks like in the real life. Because, they may explain something through the curriculum, but we may never see it in our normal work as a business. So some of those things are like in industrial job sites, through huge factories. We don't do a lot with industrial. So, open cable trays for running all the wiring and everything, or complex bending for piping every single thing in the entire building. We can read about it, but then, trying to find other avenues. Like, we've watched different videos on some of the stuff, so you can see it as they're going through and what they're doing, and you can be like, oh, I get what they're talking about now for how this is supported. Whereas before it was like, oh, why would they even do it that way? Well, there's always a reason, but sometimes they don't include the reasons for things when you're just reading about it. So when you can actually see somebody who does it all the time and see them explaining, well, this is why we have to do it, or this is why it works best, it solidifies that in their minds and helps them to remember it all.
When it comes to, like Jacob said, with electrical, you could do low voltage stuff all day long if that's what, the career fields you want to go in, or you could be a lineman and you could travel with a power company throughout every major storm in the United States, you know what I mean? And you could be going, state to state, whether it's hurricanes or blizzards or tornadoes or whatever, or you could do residential housing, or you could do commercial. I mean, you get the foundation, and your avenues in which you choose to pursue having the electrical license are so vast, and they vary so much. And I strongly, strongly believe you have to have a curriculum that touches all of that, because you do need to have some fundamentals on all of it.
What Jenny was saying is very relevant. Apprenticeship programs are customized to meet the needs of the employer while also adhering to industry standards. With Spitzer Incorporated, they don't do a lot of industrial electrical work. They do a lot of residential and commercial and generators and solar work. So the emphasis of their program is on that. Their apprentices are exposed to industrial electrical, but when you're customizing that and when Josh is teaching the related technical instruction, most of the emphasis is placed on the work that they actually do in the workforce. Whereas if a manufacturing employer with an electrical registered apprenticeship program, they would be focusing more on those industrial components while still maybe providing exposure to some of those other components like generators and residential things of that nature. But their emphasis will be on the work that they're doing every day on the job. So a best practice is customizing it to meet the employer's needs, and where they're also able to prepare an electrician or any other employee in any occupation to be successful, whether they're doing it, here in Danville for this one company or here in Pennsylvania County for a company, or they wanted to take it across country into Alaska and work as an electrician or another occupation. So when companies establish registered apprenticeship programs, yes, there are industry standards that have to be met, but that customization is key. For companies to develop and establish that worker, that employee for their company to be successful and grow and hopefully retain them for years to come. And when apprentices complete their apprenticeship programs, especially in the trades of electrical, plumbing, HVAC. Now in Virginia, they have eliminated the requirement to sit for their DPOR journeyman's licensure exam. So in those three trades, there are other ones, but for the sake of this, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, they complete a registered apprenticeship program, and it has to be registered, and they get the proof of completion. They no longer have to sit for that journeyman's exam that Josh probably had to sit for, and Josh can tell you about that. Josh is a master electrician, so that's another benefit to the Spitzer program. They're not being trained by someone who has never worked in the field. Josh is a master electrician who still very much works in the field. Oh, yeah. And so they're able to say, okay, this day is my dedicated class day, and structure class at a time that works for them. When they want to hold class, they usually have a set day, but if they have a project that's running over time, they can alter their class dates and rearrange things like that.
Or people sick.
Or when people are sick.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had that last week.
So they have that flexibility, and that's a benefit for Spitzer. With another best practice I've seen is employers covering the cost of related technical instruction for their employees or their apprentices. Jacob hasn't had to come out of pocket for anything as far as his education is concerned, because Spitzer is carrying that. And that's a best practice that we see, whether it's a manufacturer using a community college. The manufacturer covers the tuition, covers the books, that sort of thing. So the apprentice can focus solely on coming to work every day, doing their best in class, and then learning on the job, and then not having to worry about any debt that they have to pay back at the conclusion of their registered apprenticeship program. As an intermediary in this space, that's helped set up multiple, about 35, 36 registered apprenticeship programs, and that's still growing year to date, and have seen over 100 apprentices, actively involved in their apprenticeship programs. I see things such as employers, maybe let's say when it's coming to selecting a mentor, they open that up to the employees who they currently have working for them to say, hey, we're having an apprenticeship program, we're establishing one, we're going to need mentors for our apprentices. And then instead of volunteering someone to becoming a mentor, asking them to become the mentor for an apprentice, or presenting it as an opportunity to share knowledge, and letting those experienced employees opt in to being a mentor has been something that I've seen be successful, because when those mentors are sharing knowledge and being patient and encouraging those apprentices who are learning on the job to hopefully get to the level of those mentors. You want someone who wants to do that and not, be forced to do it. I've also seen having that feedback, that constant communication between employers. I have, you can call me whenever you need me. You can email me if you need anything, any questions. Nothing's off limits. So that's been a best practice that we've seen through Extra and working with Southern Virginia employers. Just let me know if you need anything at all. If it's a form you need emailed, if you need me to come and talk to parents about what registered apprenticeship is in order to get buy-in to get youth apprentices into your program, I will do it. So having that constant feedback, my employer partners inform almost everything, such as how we go about grant funding opportunities, how the grant process is working, what's needed. Do they need anything from the state that I can communicate to our state apprenticeship consultants or officials within Virginia Works? So having that communication and then having that network. For instance, Jenny. They have apprenticeship featured prominently on their apprenticeship website. Jenny worked with another apprenticeship partner who helped build that website. And so they work together, and the apprenticeship partner who helped build the website has apprenticeship programs in the IT and digital marketing space. So that apprenticeship partner was able to, when Jenny said, hey, we want to feature apprenticeship to attract people to our workplace and to gain buy-in from the public. The other apprenticeship partner was well versed in apprenticeship to know, what should be featured on this webpage and, how should we talk about apprenticeship. So they're there to also help each other within the Extra network. So forming that, and it's still growing and every day, and, we're working on, how do we bring these employers together to have more meaningful discussions. Our Extra employer partners have been involved in conversations with, political officials. What's working? What do you need? What supports are needed? And so that also gives the employers another, grounds for support, knowing that, hey, my voice is heard. Nothing is falling on deaf ears when it comes to our apprenticeship programs. And being that apprenticeship is being promoted locally, on the state level, and even nationally. The president recently announced a goal for 1 million apprentices by the end of his term. In Virginia, Governor Youngkin has a goal of 20,000 apprentices by the end of his term. So we're doing everything that we can, as an intermediary in the space, as employers in the space, to ensure that we're able to, one, create these opportunities and then support the employers who are responsible for establishing and providing these opportunities to these apprentices who are seeking, learn and earn job employment opportunities.
Yeah, no, and this was a lot of good best practices. I was sitting over here taking notes. I got a whole list of stuff. So I think, those main ideas of the customization of apprenticeship is definitely a good selling point for any company that's considering this, is, that ability to, yes, there are requirements. Yes, there are those fundamentals that need to be taught, but these should and can be customized to exactly what your workspace looks like. That this, for apprentices, that these should be and are created to be, so that, Jenny, as you said, that someone who walks in with basically no knowledge or skills in these areas that you would expect if you were hiring for a traditional employment opportunity, that you can teach those from the ground up. There's a lot more that you guys said, but we'll stop it there. So, and again, as Natori said, she is happy to help for any employer across Go Virginia Region 3. That's the 15 localities generally in Southern Virginia that are interested in apprenticeship. Natori is happy to help set those up. So, anything else that you guys want to add before we go?
Extra's here to help if you need anything. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Megabytes IALR's on-site cafe features everyday favorites, convenient ordering options, and an eager staff ready to welcome and serve you. Our enticing menus offer something for everyone, from a fresh, well-stocked salad bar, wraps, sandwiches, and our rotating hot buffet offered on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Megabytes is open Monday through Friday from 9:15 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. To view menus and for more information, visit ilr.org/megabytes.